Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Topic. And this week we are going back into the archives, one of our selects, and this is one of my favourites, is the Mandela Effect. I'm Alex.
And I'm grabbing my tinfoil hat because this episode took me down a very strange rabbit hole. I'm Dan.
Indeed. And this one, Dan, this was born out of some homework, wasn't it? Because we did conspiracy theories, which will, I guess, be another kind of selects episode. And someone said, interesting. Have you heard of the Mandela Effect? And that then led us down, as you say, the rabbit hole. And it's a big, big rabbit hole, big warren of different other theories and the likes. And I start off this episode talking about false memory studies and how there's a bit of psychology to it. And whilst there is an aspect of that and there's a shared false memory experience, we think perhaps it goes a little bit further than that. And it's up to you, of course, listener, to determine actually what is going on. Is it coexistence of parallel universes and realities? Is there time slips? Who knows? But it's all up for debate in this episode, isn't it, Dan?
Absolutely. There are things in this universe we probably won't understand. But on a more relevant note to this episode, something happened to me recently regarding the Mandela Effect.
Oh, right.
So on the 29th of December last year, we sadly lost football legend Pele.
Yes.
So, of course, when the news broke, I thought,
yes.
Wait, I thought he'd already died years ago. And I thought maybe it was just me. So, obviously, I think I messaged you first, Alex. And I jumped onto Google, did that thing, where you search. And apparently it wasn't just me. There were people from 2 years ago saying, do you know what, guys? I thought Pele was dead. But he's still alive. Well, obviously he's not now. But yeah. I thought he died a long time ago.
And I had that with Sir Roger Moore, didn't I?
You did.
So it does happen. And of course it happens with the titular Nelson Mandela, where it all started. And in this episode you're about to hear, listener, we cover such things as Forrest Gump and chocolates, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and fathers, E.T. and phones, Jurassic Park and Old Rexy, Titanic and teacups, and many more. And there's just some of the mass misremembered scenes from popular cultures or films. So as you're going through this episode, if you're thinking, oh yes, but Alex and Dan, you've forgotten other ones, well, don't despair, listener, because we actually think there is enough room for a second episode. So if you want to get in contact with us, there's the contact details in the description below, or you know them by usual because you've been listening to us. Get in contact and we'll cover it in, no doubt, a very soon future volume 2. But otherwise, this is one of my favourite episodes of all time, and it's splendid editing. If I ever did hear it, I had lots of fun putting that episode together. So without delay, we hope you enjoy it. Here is Mandela Effect, Volume 1.
Hello, Radsters! You are listening to the weekly Roundup with Alex and Dan. Get those tin hats ready because I've got mine on. I'm Dan.
And I think mine is fitting quite securely and has done for the last couple of weeks with this research. I am Alex. And what are we covering off this week, Dan?
Well, so we're sort of spinning off a little bit from the conspiracy theories. So one of our listeners told us to look at the Mandela Effect, which has now led us here.
It has, and we've been scratching our heads quite, I guess, thoroughly over the last couple of weeks. We've been researching this and been exchanging messages and mind-blowing anecdotes, and we thought we'd share with you today.
Yeah.
So, before we go any further about some examples of this, do you know, Dan, about what the Mandela Effect is. Have you heard of it before we were given our homework assignment?
No, this was the first I'd heard of it, but I knew that I'll get to it. I watched a certain film in 1993, and I recall a scene happening which is no longer there. And I'm not the only one to remember this, apparently. So talking to one of my friends, Kelly, who is a mutual friend of mine and Louise's, she remembers it as well.
All right.
And it's not there. It's not there, Alex. I can't explain it.
Well, if you're unfamiliar with the Mandela Effect, you'll see it closely next to articles around a false memory that typically refers to pop culture or current event references. So, named by the paranormal researcher Fiona Broom, it basically is around remembering something that doesn't match with historical records, which is on a large scale. So, this isn't just simply about, misremembering some detail. This is a lot of people all remembering something very specific but doesn't relate to record. Now, psychologists often attribute this strange occurrence to false memory around the fact that memory is not completely reliable and free of errors. So to give an example, in a series of experiments, so we're getting very specific here, Professor Elizabeth Loftus showed how easily, with a number of subtle cues, how false memories can be generated in a person. So for instance, she carried out with 24 individuals ranged between 18 and 53 years of age. She had a number of people in a room. She had friends and family to give, stories and anecdotes about their background, about the person they're interviewing, but then dropped in specific false memories around getting lost in a shopping mall.
Yeah,
never happened. But what they found was, after reading this account back on the family members who were recalling this false memory on behalf of the person, 29% of people remembered, or partly or fully, getting lost in the shopping mall. In two follow-up interviews, 25% of people still maintain and remember the incident, which never happened. And in fact, the subjects even provided more details than actually what was given in the interview around the instance. Which proves just how easily it is for people to have inducement of false memories, and that the brain will automatically fill in gaps. However, that's a psychology aspect. Other theories, which we like the sound of, or at least I do, claims that people do distinctly recall different events or details that could be proof we are coexisting in alternate realities or parallel universes. We talk a lot about rabbit holes, Dan, especially in conspiracy theories. Have you heard of time slips?
Yes.
There's a time slip specifically in Liverpool, in a particular street. If this is your bag, go and read up on it. It's very intriguing. But this is akin, I guess, to that kind of theory as well around time slips. But I came across Mandela Effect actually a couple of years ago when I was listening to a podcast called Rabbits. Have you heard of Rabbits before?
Oh, was it like the game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rabbits is done by the Public Radio Alliance. It's a fantastic podcast. It's replayed as much as these series kind of do, where it's replayed to you as though it's real, but actually it's a scripted show, and it's all about how the main character Carly is searching for a lost friend and comes across this game that her friend was playing called Rabbits, and it transpires it's an underground Illuminati-esque type game that traverses all time and space, and there's reference to the Mandela Effect in there, and that's how I came across it, and it's fascinating. But we are here today to give you the roundup on some popular Mandela Effect theories.
Yeah, so we're going to sort of kick off with the big screen. So I always remember Forrest Gump with "Life is like a box of chocolates."
Yeah.
I'm afraid to tell you all, its life was like a box of chocolates. Now, in context, it doesn't make sense. And I did rewatch the clip several times, just for my own sanity. He does say life was like a box of chocolates.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Which is bizarre because he's on the park bench and he's replaying his life events, but life isn't over. So why is he talking about it in the past tense as something that is continued up until the point in which you pass? So it's a bit strange.
Yes, I mean, we posted this one on our socials and on Insta. Mark Jeffrey podcast, he put PMSL. Don't get me started on this again. So obviously he's familiar with it, and he's probably argued his case several times. And Sparky Puss in Boots, when I watched it, it was definitely is.
So they actually specifically remember is, not was.
Yeah. We did have a little discussion about it, and I say that in context, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But hey, it's there. I've watched it. In fact, when I watched the clip on the YouTube, what am I on about?
On the old YouTube.
On the old YouTube, someone actually commented, "I'm just here for the Mandela Effect." So I didn't actually realise this was such a big thing, Alex, until I started to look into this. And actually, it's affected me in more ways than I probably remember.
Yeah. And to that extent, I mean, that's one example. If you look at, I guess, a franchise which really does underpin a modern society, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back.
The infamous quote, or it's iconic.
Best in Cloud City, the very end.
Well, we remember it as Luke, I am your father, right?
Yeah, because, that's the big reveal. But Darth Vader doesn't say that to Luke Skywalker after he's lost his hand.
No.
He says, I am your father.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
No. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's it.
So if anyone's actually going to quote at you, Luke, I am your father, you can tell them...
Get in the sea.
I was going to say, you can tell them they're wrong, but yeah,
right.
Get in the sea, even better.
Get in the sea. Because he doesn't make reference to Luke, it's just, I am your father. Which again is strange. You could say that this is just, people misremembering or adding to the film to make it more relevant because it's the character he's speaking to, so just adding his name. But if it doesn't feature, how can so many people take that as given that that's what's been said, but it's not?
Yeah.
It's very, very bizarre. But yeah, sure enough, he doesn't say his name at all, just says, I'm your father. Which does make sense in the context, because it makes him removed as the parental role. He's still the baddie, he's still the head of the Empire. He doesn't care who Luke is, he just states a fact. It's very factual, very clinical. So it does make sense in the context of the role, but we all remember it differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, strange one, that one. But that's even in Star Wars, one of the best of the films, the second one. Yeah, bizarre.
I mean, we got an iconic one, and this blew both our minds. So what I tend to do is when we post stuff on socials, I sort of share it out a little bit on my own personal one. My cousin Kaylee actually said, E.T. says, E.T. home phone.
E.T. home phone.
Now, I couldn't believe this, and I had to actually go and YouTube it to actually see what the scene was, because we of course all remember it as E.T.
Phone home.
Because that makes sense. He needs to contact his home. He points at the sky. That's what I remember it as. No, E.T. home phone, which grammatically also makes sense because he's grasping the English language. There's some funny scenes throughout the film where he gets things wrong because he's trying to communicate with the young kids. But I don't remember it like that. It's E.T. phone home, not E.T. home phone.
Yeah.
It's almost like an advert for BT, which I'm sure that actually there is. So I don't quite get that reference at all. But yeah, it's not the way we remember it.
So it blew both our minds. Jurassic Park. So this is the one that I always remember as a kid. So when I was at the cinema, I always remember Rexy at the end bursting through a brick wall. And it was only when I started to look at this, right, I had to start Googling it just to make sure I wasn't going mad. It wasn't just me.
Well, you are, but not specifically about this.
Oh, yeah. I'm a bit of a nutter. But people do remember it as well. And I was like, okay, so if these people remember it and I remember it, and I was expecting to see the scene when we went to see it last year in November for the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
Didn't turn up, but there was a scene in there we both don't remember, which was the blood-sucking lawyer going to the mines where they were hacking up the amber.
Yeah.
I don't remember that being in the film.
No, same.
Like, ever. But Rexy didn't turn up for that brick wall, just strolls in and takes out the raptors. And I was talking to my friend Kelly about this, who absolutely loves Jurassic Park as well. She can't get enough of old Jeff Goldblum.
And to be fair, who can't? Yeah.
She remembers it as well. And I was like, we can't be going mad. If we remember it amongst many other people, where's this scene gone?
Yeah.
Are we splicing into an alternate reality where... I don't know. It's blowing my mind, Alex.
And this is the thing, so there are some theories out there that there are specific scenes made and released by popular product ranges. So perhaps Burger King had released an advert which was endorsing the film, like a dinosaur burger, and they'd done a particular scene to endorse that release. Or I don't know, for Duracell batteries. I don't know what it is. And some people are saying that this could be a case of you've seen the advert for the film, and it's the kind of like a spin-off to that, but it's not actually attributed to the main theatrical release. But that can't be for every single one. Jurassic Park, it could be. It could be that you've remembered, a Doritos advert where Rexy bursts through a brick wall, and then he's eager to have a lovely taste of cool original Doritos. But so many people remember that it just seems a little bit strange.
Is it one that you remember, or
I can't remember that one? But as you say, Dan, I couldn't remember that specific scene at the beginning where they're in, I think it's the Congo or a rainforest, and the lawyer visits the mine.
Yeah,
it just seemed quite a gear change from the rest of the film.
Because I remember we both sort of looked at each other like,
What is this?
What is this? Where did this scene come from?
Again, you could say, well, actually, it was not in a UK release, because I saw it in video. I don't know if you recall seeing it in the cinema, Dan. You saw it in the cinema, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went with my dad and my nan.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw it in video, but so you could say it wasn't part of a UK version. But it still seems very strange, and it hasn't been confirmed. So where are all these scenes coming from?
Yeah,
and some people are saying, well, this is a clear example of where, a certain version has been released that perhaps isn't aligned to our reality.
So Kelly also mentioned Titanic, so we're talking about the film with Leonardo DiCaprio, not the actual event, just to make that clear for our listeners.
Oh, okay.
She says, the Titanic ones are messing with my brain right now. Rose slapping her mum has disappeared, and I'm sure that when the captain was going down with his ship, originally he was holding a cup of tea and a saucer, and it was shaking like mad. Now, I've not seen the film enough to sort of formulate my own memories of this, but I do remember the captain with his tea and saucer, and it was shaking as the boat was going. But I did look into this a little bit further. So some actually recall Ruth slapping Rose when Rose was doing up her mother's corset. Or was that actually what happened? I don't know. I'm starting to lose my tangent on this one. Some say the scene is no longer there.
Again, could be part of the production process. Again, films can and do change on reflection once they've come out in the cinema. You do have various different extended cuts, and I'm sure there are many different versions of this. So it could be that someone's actually seen an extended version or one meant for Asia. I don't know. Films have been amended for certain audiences. But it's interesting that it actually affects, or that comes up in one of the world's most successful films of all time.
Talking of iconic phrases, Alex, you've heard the phrase "Hello, Clarice."
I have.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yep.
So Hannibal Lecter doesn't actually say this, I'm afraid. No. The closest he ever got in the film to saying it is "Good evening, Clarice."
Good morning.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
You're one of Jack Crawford's, aren't you?
I am, yes.
It's an iconic quote remembered by many. Loads of people remember it, but where has it gone?
Or where's it come from?
So it's a bit like the Darth Vader, "I am your father," but
really entirely but this one's more specific because actually it's entirely different, and everyone remembers very specific phrasing which never actually happens.
Snow White. So this one again blew my mind.
Original Disney.
Original Disney. We all remember Mirror, Mirror on the wall.
We do.
Who was the fairest of them all?
Which makes sense.
It makes sense. It's ingrained in all our heads since we were kids.
Yes.
But no, actually it's Magic Mirror on the wall.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all?
Which is naff.
Yes. Doesn't have the same punch, the same delivery.
A Magic Mirror does kind of make sense because it's very in your face Disney and direct reference to the fact that it is a magical item. Yeah, in context, but everyone does remember it's Mirror Mirror, and even kids recite it as Mirror Mirror when they're role playing. So it's very, very strange that's consistent, which isn't actually in reality what's occurring.
So on Instagram, let's say when we were putting our socials out, Dolly had braces, told us to look into 1979 James Bond film Moonraker. Now, when we were both sort of discussing this pre-recording, we both remember a certain scene which isn't there.
But very vividly. Now,
yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of the film. I won't profess to say that it's probably at my top bottom.
Oh, really?
of all of the Bond films. I just didn't like the tongue-in-cheek nature of it. Too slapstick, too Roger Moore for me. But when I have seen it, I do remember the endearing moment with these two particular characters.
Yeah. So, I mean, Dolly's appearance was extremely popular throughout movie history. So she had the glasses, the pigtails, and many recall she had braces.
Yeah, quintessentially innocent, which is why it's quite jarring compared to the murderous nature of the villain Jaws.
Yeah, so when people went back to watch this film, they were shocked to discover her braces had disappeared. So major Bond fans claim she did have braces, and her appearance made her stand out in cinema history. And as you say, she was the girlfriend to Jaws, the villain. But alas, both VHS and DVD copies are void of her braces. And there have been fans that have tried to debunk the theory. So some believe that the sun reflecting from Dolly's glasses caused the illusion.
Nonsense.
Rubbish, get in the sea. And her appearance is a stereotypical geek girl, which caused the idea of braces. And the other Mandela effect for this is Dolly and Jaws kiss, and her braces get stuck in Jaws' teeth, which
100% that's what happens.
We both remember it.
Yeah, because it's quite a bit of light relief in the film. The whole film is nonsense, but specifically it's endearing. You know, I think she leans up for the kiss because she's quite short and he's quite tall. He leans down to kiss her, and it's like a tongue-in-cheek moment. You know, his teeth get locked into hers, and that's why they're so alike but so different at the same time. But you're telling me, Dan, that scene never happened?
No, never happened. Braces are gone. I've seen pictures of, well, the braces are gone.
Which doesn't make any sense to me, because for me, that's what I remember more about the film than anything else. But that scene never occurred.
Never occurred.
Now, I wouldn't have seen that in any adverts, because I think I was still too young at the time. I think it was late 80s, I think, the release of that film.
87. No, 79.
79. So I wasn't even born then.
No.
So I wouldn't have been exposed to any kind of adverts or popular, cultural references. The original film I would have seen, where have we seen that from?
Yeah.
I've both seen it.
We've both seen it, so we weren't born, and said scene has disappeared. I mean, not so much a movie reference, this one, but Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
So many recall a pre-2016 Oscar ceremony where DiCaprio won the Best Actor award. They all remember his acceptance speech because it was similar to the latest one. I'm not sure how widespread this Mandela effect is because I didn't watch it and I have no memory of it. But many do recall clear memories of DiCaprio winning Best Actor award for Titanic. 1998 talk shows replayed his acceptance speech.
I mean, some have debunked it and said, well, it's any wonder because he's been up for so many nominations, hence why, was it last year when he actually got his? Yeah. It was a massive celebration because they said it was a travesty up until that point to be nominated too many times not to. But yeah, a lot of people have said it's strange that they remember him receiving one. But those are the end of the films. Should we go up to some products and logos next?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, if we start off with Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
Lovable character from, I think, 1940s, 1950s, has evolved to various films and has got his own kind of theme park and is literally the face of Disney. Now, Mickey Mouse doesn't wear suspenders.
What? Hang on. I'm pretty sure he had suspenders.
The official cartoons don't show Mickey with shoulder straps, but people say the toys and the stuffed animals had him in his full outfit. But apparently, no, he hasn't got straps either side of the shoulders, keeping up his trousers, which is the role of suspenders.
Yeah.
Not talk about the sexy stuff that ladies wear. That'd be weird and wrong. A different Mandela Effect entirely. Inappropriate. No. But I remember having distinct black suspending straps.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I thought they were red, but
I seem to remember having either red or black with like a red disc.
Yeah.
Where they're joined, but no, that's
Gone.
not a thing.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Monopoly Man, the man of Monopoly.
Oh, the monocle.
Top hat. Yeah. No.
You're going to tell me he didn't have a monocle,
No
right?
monocle. Apparently, some people suggest that that's kind of confusion with a similar logo or mascot, which is Mr. Peanut from Planters Peanut Company,
okay.
who does have a monocle. I can kind of understand that, but I still seem to remember. I can still see it in my mind now, my mind's eye, the character of Mr. Monopoly on the front of the board. So, yeah, he doesn't have a monocle.
This is mind-bending stuff.
This one is a little bit easier to swallow. But to give you another example, Febreze. So stuff that you spray, to get rid of dog smells or not very nice odours on upholstery and the likes.
I probably could have done with some of that today. I cooked curry before I came over, and I probably smell of...
You smell delightful.
Balti paste.
There's nothing wrong with that. Febreze isn't Feb and then breeze in the wind. It's Febreze. Breze. Now that could just be a pronunciation. We don't pronounce it the way which it's spelt. It's pronounced as Febreze, but it's spelled as Febreze. Febreze, which sounds very European mainland. But the last one that really features in this kind of category for me is again a similar kind of ilk. Looney Tunes is actually Looney Tunes.
Ah, yes. I did have this in my notes as well, this one.
So the conglomerate, for want of a better term, of cartoon characters. They don't sing or have special musical abilities. But nonetheless, it's not tunes, as in cartoons. It's tunes, as in, come on, Dan, let's put on some tunes.
Yeah.
Which I've never said to you before. Apparently, Walt Disney based Looney Tunes off the musical series Silly Symphonies in this universe, at least. But I mean, you can again misremember those very easily because you may say, "Well, it's tunes." It does flash up at the end of the specific cartoon. It doesn't linger. You may just quickly misremember, and your brain just thinks it's tunes as a cartoon. But yeah, that's another common one.
I mean, there are several ways that it could be dismissed as well. So media print errors, typos.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help that I remember this as a kid, by the way. Tiny Toon, so TWRAD Adventures, so that exists.
Spin-off.
Had similar graphics to their grown-up counterparts. Dolly's braces again. Chic Fila. I think this is an American thing, so I wouldn't have any idea. But I've looked into this one for Dolly Has Braces. Some believe it was called this, so spelled CHIC-FIL-A. Some believe it was Chick-fil-A, so CHIK-FIL-A.
Yeah, so a derivative on the chick and the C with a K.
However, neither are correct. And the company reputedly always been Chick-fil-A, CHICK-FIL-A. Yes. So sort of following up from the Looney Tunes dilemma.
Yep.
TV-wise, Star Trek. So this one came in from Becca.
Yeah.
Beam me up, Scotty's an iconic phrase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never said. Ever. Millions of anecdotes, parodies, and even clothing being made with this phrase. But the closest we ever get is Scotty, beam me up, or beam us up, Scotty. However, Lead Sharp on Facebook says it was said in Star Trek 4.
Oh, okay.
So does that count if we're talking about TV, or has he debunked it that people remember that phrase because of that film?
Well, I don't know how popular one is compared to the other, film or TV as a medium, but it seems a bit strange that they would remember a particular line from a mediocre film. I don't want to upset anyone, but it is a mediocre film.
Force horrendous.
And so, would that really have sparked all of this kind of pop cultural reference and interest? I don't know.
This one led me down a rabbit hole. So I used to watch a program called Ghost Hunters. I'm into weird paranormal things. As you know, I go on paranormal investigations, looking for ghosts, spirits, as you were. I always remember it being called Taps, as do many people. Apparently not. No, it's always been Ghost Hunters from the very first episode.
So what's reference to TAPS? Is that like an acronym? Or
so TAPS was the name of the company, I guess, that used to go around and do these investigations. But they always called the TV program Ghost Hunters, apparently.
Okay.
But I always remember the intro having like a TAPS logo.
Yeah.
Apparently not. It's never existed. Gone. But say I'm not the only one. I went onto Google, had a look. People remember the same thing.
How bizarre.
So Becca again, who told us to look into the Star Trek thing. We Are the Champions by Queen. Iconic song.
Yeah. This one messed up quite a lot of people on social media when we put this out there.
Apparently this might have been debunked. However, it doesn't end with Of the World.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are 2 recordings of the song.
The plot thickens.
The plot thickens. So we don't know if this one's true or not. Can it be a Mandela Effect? But there is a version where it does end with Of the World.
Because I think most because I do a hospital radio show down here on the south coast of the UK. Monday nights on Chichester Hospital Radio. You can listen to us on air on our website. And I have played that track recently, and it's just the instruments that play the Of the World, but it's not said. So I wonder whether people have thought in a previous chorus when he says it, whether they fill in the gap and they hear it as opposed to the musical instruments, or whether actually they have heard a version of it actually said. I don't know, but that one I think resonated with most people on social media, and confused an awful lot of people, me included, because I still remember singing along Of the World, when we used to leave the student union down here in Portsmouth, singing out the way home. But an easy way to debunk that is I was pretty drunk most of the time I was singing that. So any wonder I'd misremember the words, but a lot of people can't remember that.
Yeah.
Strange.
Very strange. Last one from Dolly Has Braces. So I'm not really a religious person, although I am christened. Isaiah 11:6. The lion will lay down with the lamb. Apparently it's not that at all, and it is the wolf shall dwell with the lamb.
Which are 2 entirely different things, really, if you listen to it.
I mean, I'm not really a religious person, but I always assumed it was the lion will lay down with the lamb. There's so many references in the world, like statues and pictures, etc. And it's always been taught as the lion instead of the wolf. But there are arguments for both sides that there is 100% proof that the lamb actually laid with either or. But who's wrong, Alex?
Well, who's right?
I don't know.
No. And again, I'm not one who's up to date with religious scripts, so I'll have to pass over to our listeners if they have a particular view or opinion. But yeah, that one is an interesting one because the Bible and other religious manuscripts, they've been rewritten so many times over the years. Good couple of thousand years for it to be amended.
Could happen.
It could very easily happen. But one specific reference that people remember, again, it's just strange that they're transfixed on one version when in fact it's something entirely different.
Yeah, odd. But you got some world events.
I have, yeah.
I've only got one. But again, this came from Dolly Had Braces, but we'll get to it.
Okay. Well, how about the phenomena of moving countries and changing geography?
Okay, do enlighten me.
So apparently many people remember islands, land masses and countries in alternate locations. So when you look at a world map, they remember certain land masses being in a different position on the map, or say more north than their local landmass or something.
Okay.
So that's what they're referencing when they say that. They remember things in a totally different location than when they were, they're growing up.
Oh, actually, isn't New Zealand one of them?
It is, along with what's doing the rounds is Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Many of these altered locations do actually feature around the Indian Ocean, but some are not. So New Zealand and other land masses around Korea have also been surprising and actually consistently so far raised as queries with people's memories. But so far the major location discrepancies seem to relate to Andorra, Cuba, Denmark and Sweden, Korea, Japan, Mongolia, New Zealand, Poland, Portugal, as I mentioned, Sri Lanka. There's also some interesting media references, but you've got to be careful when you're referencing media here because, of course, they're not supposed to be accurate references necessarily, unless they are the point of the programme. Such as the globe in the movie Dazed and Confused from the film back in 1993 by Universal. Now there's a globe or printed map in that one which shows a number of different locations. I think it's Australia's in a totally different position, or New Zealand is, and they could be just a case of they've used a very cheap globe, and I've seen this the clip. They spin the globe and it's been slowed down and you can see that the countries are in totally different positions. Well, if you've got a map of the globe and it's been stretched to meet a smaller kind of construction as opposed to what is probably should be fitting a larger one, then that's how you could misalign the paper that gets around the actual spherical shape. But there's quite a lot of people who all remember either in school as they're growing up or adults of locations that simply aren't what they are in reality, and Sri Lanka's one of them.
Okay. I'll have to look into that one. I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, and with maps and globes, again, you've got to be careful because they're constructed for various different purposes. I mean, I know that a member of our family has a very old USSR globe and refers to Russia as the USSR. It's a globe made for the time as a political map.
So instead of the Czech Republic, you'd have Czechoslovakia, for example.
Yeah. So there are things out there that do depict different things for different reasons and for different audiences. So you've got to be very careful when you talk about that. But so many people, members of the world, there's loads of threads out there. Again, you've got to be very careful when you're scouring the internet. But there's consistent threads where people believe, or say to believe, certain countries in being entirely different positions, subtly or otherwise. It's interesting that people are remembering that, and it could be a case of they've all read the same textbook that was wrong, or they've all got a particular poster. But it just seems strange that so many people remember something very, very specific, and something that's quite categorically wrong, which is positions of land masses around the world. So that's one of them. If we talk about Harry Houdini's death.
Okay.
So the famous magician. It's popular belief that Harry Houdini, the master escape artist, died while attempting one of his legendary escapes.
Didn't he drown?
No. So apparently people remember him drowning in on stage, I think, or something like that.
Oh, so we didn't?
No. In reality, Houdini died from a ruptured appendix after, get this, one of his students punched him.
Oh.
Which is savage. That's effectively murder or manslaughter. I don't know what happened with that case.
Christ.
But what apparently they're saying is false memory could be attributed to a 1953 movie where Tony Curtis plays the role or depicts the role of Houdini's death as in a dramatised effect, where he drowns in a torture tank trick on stage. So it could be where people are remembering less about the event. Because at a time where I think there was black and white movies, but it's more about newspapers and black and white images, and perhaps more remembering the dramatised, famous pop cultural reference. But yeah, he did not die live in live stage act, or in perhaps, as I seem to remember, also around the time, of course, in a safe. So dying in a safe where he was locked into a safe, had to escape with it being plunged into water. Neither happened, and in fact he died by more strange and nefarious means.
So that's a new one to me, being punched in the appendix.
He died, which is very sad. But yeah, he didn't die by an act. I've got one on here before I close off with, well, the famous one that lends the title of the episode. But you've got this as well. So JFK's car.
4 or 6 seats. So
that's the question.
This was the last one from Donny's Braces. So there's a big debate if JFK's car had 4 or 6 seats, and the current facts show 6 people in the car. But many only ever remember 4. So interestingly, it's the older generation that remember 4, and the younger generation remember 6.
Well, I remember 4 because it's an open topped. Is it a Firebird or something?
Yeah,
it's a car. It's an old classic American type muscle car, and you've got driver, you've got Secret Service next to him in the front, and you got
JFK and his wife
in the back. Yeah, and JFK is on the left as you face into the car, and his wife's on the right. And that's the way I remember. I don't remember then another row or a wider set of seats.
No,
not that I would, because I wasn't there. But that's how I remember media portraying at least the photos. So to be missing 2 people, 2 additional seats.
Can pictures cause a bit of an illusion? So we had cars behind him and his CIA sort of looking after him. I mean, if you listen back to the conspiracy theories, there is a theory that one of them shot him. Who knows? I
mean, it could be. I think the photo I remember is he's up close, and you could say, well, that's taken from the person on the seat next to him, not outside of the car, which is more the way I'm remembering it. And as you say, it could be that when they heard the shots, people had ducked, so those 2 people perhaps out of shot, and we didn't see them. But I guess I buck that trend because I do fit into the old generation of people that remember before.
Same. Looking into this one as well, it sort of led me down the conspiracy theory route again. So if you listen to the previous episode, we did mention Marilyn Monroe and how she ties into the JFK theory. Apparently she faked her death, Alex. She faked her death and is the real assassin of JFK.
No.
This did make me laugh. Someone did comment, "This is absurd, but would make a great film."
Would it though? Don't know.
We'll see. Maybe we should try and pitch this to someone and do our own Sharknado, but conspiracy theories. Yeah. It would be terrible, but
terribly good.
Fascinating. But if anyone was interested in the conspiracy theories episode and is finding interest in this one, I've stumbled across a Netflix documentary series. So it's like 5 episodes. It's called The Family. So this tackles a widespread conspiracy regarding US power systems. It examines conservative Christian group known as The Family or the Fellowship, and its apparent history in influencing the heart of American politics. So I'm probably going to jump on board with that one at some stage, but we'll see how we get on. We might do a conspiracy theories volume 2 at some stage. It's going to happen, right?
Oh, most definitely. There's loads out there. I think we missed quite a few as well.
Yeah.
So the one I was going to finish off with, Dan, which is the title of the phenomenon and the title of the episode, is actually Nelson Mandela.
Yep.
Now, actually, I subscribe to this specifically. Now, the theory is named after the fact that he died in 2013. However, many remember him dying in prison in the 80s. Now, I wasn't young enough probably to remember it solidified in my mind then, but when he does, I think for the second time when he's released from prison, and it's a fantastic event, and he's walking down, I think, one of the main parades, and there's people lining the streets, and they're celebrating quite rightly. At the time, it was a fantastic event for African politics and the likes. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I seem to remember he'd passed away before in prison. And millions upon millions of people remember that as well. So this is all about where an event they seem to have either read, they seem to remember reading a newspaper article or seeing a news bulletin or something announcing his passing, which is really, really sad. Let's not get away from the fact it's a really sad event that we're talking about. It never happened, but eventually, of course, did. But yeah, a lot of people remember him passing away in prison, which does make it, I guess, it's still sad, but even sadder that he never actually saw justice and was released. I do remember some reference to that. So again, 2013, when I'm ever so slightly more older, and there is he's obviously since then released from prison, and then he passed away. I think in the comfort of his own home and his family. People are mind blown. They're like, well, hang on a minute, how's this happened? And surely I believe him to have passed before. And this is all about, on a grand scale, global scale, people remembering something very, very specific that never actually occurred. And hence then where the title comes from, the Mandela Effect. And one that I actually do specifically remember. So when anyone says, Nelson Mandela, I'll first remember him as passing in prison, and then obviously subsequently a celebration of him getting out, which is confusing at best.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's the Mandela Effect. We've covered quite a few from the weird and the wonderful and the wacky, and there's still quite a few out there. I mean, this was the quintessential rabbit hole. And we want to get your views, because we got quite a few hits on social media. Did we miss any ones that resonate with you?
Want to do a volume 2?
Yeah, let us know any particular ones that you have heard of or you're interested in. And do any of them actually resonate with you? Or do you believe in any of these? Is it a case of it could be explained away with sensible and strange product placement and advertising? Dan, was it Jurassic Park as advertised by Burger King or McDonald's? Or did the scene actually happen and the film was not as it was released? Or is it a mass misremembering on a global scale? Or is there alternative parallel universes and timelines clashed?
I'll say this does tie into our conspiracy theories episode, so if you've listened to that as well, we want more conspiracy theories. We love a good conspiracy theory, although my mind has warped enough over the last couple of months looking into these various things. So maybe next year we'll touch upon these again. But if you want to let us know, you can get in touch with us on Facebook, which is where we're primarily active, on the Weekly Roundup with Alex and Dan. We are on Twitter, which I do a lot of tweeting on. So that's at hello_TWRAD. Could be .TWRAD. Just look at the hashtag, it's fine. Instagram, hello.twrad. Or we have Gmail. We do. hello.twrad@gmail.com. Or if you look at some of our socials, we do post a link to Anchor. If you want to subscribe and download that, that's great. But if you don't, there is a link which will directly take you to a little page where you can record a message and we can plug you in to a future episode.
Yeah, it literally takes 2 seconds just to accept the use of your microphone on your mobile device and leave us a voice message. And we've got a couple in previous episodes where other listeners have done that. You are more than welcome to be part of the show, and as long as it's nice and polite, we'll have you featured in that episode.
Yeah, we've got a lot lined up for the future. So I sent you a list yesterday of ideas. And things that we've run it past. So follow our socials, so you'll get an idea of what we're up to and what we'll be talking about in the future.
But any early tidbits you want to share with our listeners, Dan? What might be coming up?
We're going to be binge watching some stuff on Netflix and Prime. So we want to know what you're binge watching, where you're watching it, and why. And I think we're probably going to be looking at some casting decisions that worked and maybe didn't work. So this is going to be quite a fun one to look at.
Yeah. Also sticking with film and looking at gaming films. So what films have actually been based on the gaming industry? Most of them are flops, but looking at what they were and why did they miss the mark. And then also then, amongst others, also our upcoming anticipated 2019. So did an upcoming 2018 where we had a summer hiatus. We're not this year, but we're still looking forward to autumn or fall, as our American listeners put it. We've got plenty to look forward to for the end of the year.
And I imagine at the end of the year we'll probably do an episode of our most anticipated 2020 where we'll probably talk about films, TV, music, games and such like. But
all of it.
A lot planned for the future.
Indeed. And I just wanted to very quickly, Dan, whilst we're talking about our audience, just talk about who's listening. So we're surpassing some big numbers on downloads and listens. So thank you very much if you're part of that number for subscribing. Please do subscribe. Smash that subscription button, and you'll be notified when we release a new episode on a weekly basis. But our stateside listeners are exploding. So a big hello to our cousins over the pond. We've got listeners in Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Texas, Nevada, Maryland, but specifically also California.
Hi, California.
So a massive shout out to our listeners in Mountain View. Thank you for listening. But San Francisco, Granada Hills, Red Ondo Beach, as well as West Sacramento, Los Angeles, and Menifee. So if you want to give us a shout out, let us know what resonates with you. If there's anything that you want us to cover off, then please do get in contact with us. It's great to have you on board.
Definitely. Thank you for listening.
But for another week, well, I think I'm still in my timeline in reality. I'm Alex.
I'm still mind warped through this whole thing. I've been Dan.
And hopefully we'll see you
next
time. Week. There's a
barking seagull.
There's an actual barking seagull again shouting us in true weekly roundup. Bugger off. Go and shout at someone else.
I'm going to go pelt things at you until you get in the sea.
PETA or WWF won't be too happy with what you're just saying there, Dan. We will not be doing that to animals. We love animals in the weekly roundup, but he does need to do one because we don't need more backing singers to this podcast.
Might take a picture of him and put him up on socials.
The third member of the of the team.
So on Instagram, we had Dolly had braces, and they wanted us to talk about.
There's just no need for that.
How rude! He is proper going some. Look at him waddling on the roof.
It's barking.
And he's gone. Incredible. I don't know if that's going to be an outtake or not. Put in as and where. Oh, some authentic sounds coming right now.
Do you think they sound like the velociraptors from Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
That kind of sound. I have to cut that in there.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
Yeah, he's proper going some. They're having a fight out there.
Let's close the windows.
Get in the sea.